introductory matters to deal with first, so there will be people joining us as we proceed. My name is Dave Hardy. I'd like to turn the meeting over to Kevin Heathcote to provide the land acknowledgement before we move on. Kevin?
Certainly. Thanks, Dave. Welcome, everyone. Just like to say a brief land acknowledgement statement. So the municipality of Clarington is situated within the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas, Chippewa of the Anishinaabeg, known today as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands acknowledges their resilience and their long-standing contributions to the area now known as the municipality of Clarington. I'd also like to just quickly welcome Mayor Foster, as well as Councillor Hooper and Councillor Zwart to the call. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Kevin. So welcome everybody. My name is Dave Hardy. I'm with Hardy Stevenson Associates Limited, and I'll be facilitating the Public Information Center this evening. I'm going to ask, if you aren't presenting, if you could just turn off your camera so we can have bandwidth. So thank you everybody for taking the time to participate. I'm going to do a couple things before we hear the presentation. Okay, and I'll just go over the purpose, the protocol we're going to be using to talk to each other, some introductions of some of the people who are going to be talking and listening, health and safety moment, some meeting courtesies, and questions that you might want to consider. I'm going to ask everybody to mute your microphone and turn off your cameras if you can, unless you wish to provide a comment or have a question and so on. And I'm happy right at that point for you to turn your camera on. We have scheduled till 9 o'clock. I don't know if we'll need that much time, but we will talk to each other and have dialogue until all our comments and questions are addressed. So this is a public open house, and it's an opportunity for you to learn about the decisions that the municipality needs to make for the municipality to learn your views as members of the public. By learning from each other, we make better decisions. We've convened the Public Information Center because the municipality of Clarington is undertaking a Schedule B class environmental assessment, and they're investigating how local transportation network can best serve the community as the Port Granby project enters its end-use operations. So we have consultants from SEMA who are on the call, and they'll be presenting the options, and they're looking for your comments before decisions are made. Once the presentation is finished, you and other members of the public and stakeholders are going to be asked some questions, and I'll provide them to you in a minute or so, but that will help the municipality to choose a preferred option. Now, this meeting is being recorded, and it will be posted to the Municipality of Clarington EA project page. The recording and the notes of the meeting will be posted on the website, and we will do that in a way that doesn't attribute names, but it will be posted once the notes are completed. And that's at www.clarington.net/Port Granby Road Network. I have a number of folks that I'll be introducing, but beginning, Alicia Friedel, who's an environmental professional with SEMA Engineering, will be taking notes. She'll be assisted by Lauren Wingham-Smith from Hardy Stevenson and Associates. We have two very competent note takers. So I know that some of you have phoned in, and thank you for joining us in that way. If you do have a comment or question, just feel free to ask it during a pause in the conversation. So there's no need to put your hand up or anything like that. Lauren will be monitoring who's on the phone and who's in chat, and also making sure you have the chance to participate. Because you're on the phone, I've asked Ron Albright, our main presenter, who's the Project Director of Infrastructure for Municipal Engineering from SEMA, to provide kind of a description of what's happening on the screen in order to assist you on the phone. So he'll be painting a picture as he's going through his slides. I do want to thank Jerry Mahoney and Barney McFarland for distributing copies of the PowerPoint in advance, as well as the supporting materials. So thanks very much, Jerry and Bonnie. Again, for those of you participating through Microsoft Teams, again, there's a menu on your screen, and I hope that most of you have been on a Zoom or Teams call before. So you can put your hand up for a question or comment, or you can enter your question or comment in chat. And of course, that will be monitored, and we'll make sure your comments are addressed as they occur in chat. So let's move on with some final introductions before we start the next piece. So the municipality is responsible for the roads network and the municipality of Clarington Class EA. So on the call, we have Kevin Heathcote, who's Capital Works Supervisor of the Public Works Department, and you heard Kevin give the land acknowledgement. We also have Faye Langmaid, Manager of Special Projects for the Planning Services Department. We have SEMA Engineering, and who've been engaged by Clarington to undertake the municipal Class EA work. So we have Will McCrae, Partner and Senior Director of Infrastructure and Municipal Engineering, and I've just introduced Ron Albright. So very good environmental professionals on the call to provide guidance to us. Hardy Stevenson is represented by myself and Lauren Wingham Smith. We also have staff from Canadian Nuclear Laboratories. We have Jordan Wilson, Ajit Guman, and Susan Bailey, and they're on the call as observers. So thank you for being on the call this evening. With that, I'd like to do the next step, which is the health and safety moment. And Ron Albright, can you just provide us with a health and safety moment, please?
Yes, I can. I'm just going to hopefully share my screen here. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Just a safety moment is being prepared in the event of an emergency or evacuation with a properly equipped go bag or emergency survival kit. What it is a time survival kit in the event of an emergency evacuation or disaster with all the essentials that you would need for short duration of being cut off. Food, flashlight, blankets, personal documents, that sort of thing. Wide prep, widespread and large-scale nature of recent emergencies, more regular occurrence of those, reduce response time from EMS, and the time and place of the occurrence, and if you're on your own. And how to prepare for a go bag. Many of these can be bought off the shelf, or else you can build them by yourself, self-assembled. And ensure that you do routine checks on these emergency survival bags, making sure that there are no leaks or outdated expired food reserves in your bag. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you, Ron. I always learn something when I hear these safety moments. It's good advice. I'm going to talk about a couple meeting courtesies before we kick off the presentation part. The goal of this meeting is to discuss the preferred transportation option for the Port Granby transportation network. So I'm happy if you focus your comments on the transportation network Class EA subject matter. Please remember that this municipal Class EA is being conducted by the municipality and not by the Port Hope Area Initiative. While we do have Canadian Nuclear Laboratories staff on the call, they're there as stakeholders, not to respond questions regarding the Port Granby project. That said, I know they're pleased to take any questions at any time during the day and are very well equipped to take your questions and comments at any time. So I've asked Ron to present the whole presentation before we ask for your questions and comments. The presentation will be around 30 minutes. And I'm just going to lay out the questions we have of you before Ron begins. So most of you are knowledgeable, if not all of you, of this area. So when you're listening to the options and preferred option, what are any of the concerns or issues that may arise with the preferred option? Does the preferred option align with your vision for the road network in Port Granby? And are there other transportation improvements not presented tonight that you would like to see considered? And please say why. So with that, Ron, I'm going to ask you to start. I know we'll take comments and questions both tonight, but also after the presentation. And everything will be posted on the webpage. So Ron, it's floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dave. And just to confirm, everybody can see my screen except for those on the phone.
We're good.
Okay, so we'll start off with the cover page. Port Granby Public Information Center number 2, dealing with the transportation network. And this is regarding the municipal class environmental assessment. Slide number 2, project background and context. Many of you are aware of the long-term waste management facility history to adjust low-level radioactive waste in the area. As part of this work, there is an agreement between Clarington and Canada relating to the roads in the area. As the end of this lease for Elliott Road nears, Clarington, through the completion of the municipal class environmental assessment, would like to determine the best way to deal with the low-level waste management facility operations and make improvements to the Clarington road transportation network in the area. Slide number 3, long-term management plan. The Port Granby project is nearing the end of its construction phase and will be moving into the maintenance and monitoring phase, which will require CNL to continue to access the site for the long term. Access to the site is currently provided through agreements for use of Nichols Road, mainly for monitoring, and Elliott Road, which is the primary access, and which lease agreement expires at the end of April 2022. Next slide, summary of the PIC. The last PIC was held just under a year ago. Key takeaways and input received were that many of the stakeholders and public preferred the status quo of having the long-term waste management facility traffic enter the site from Elliott Road. Keep traffic for the site off of Lakeshore Road was a lot of the input received. Continued property access in the fullness of time. Speed was also a concern raised if Elliott Road was to be opened to the public, and would like minimal further disruption and added costs to the project. And finally, Clarington does see a benefit in the road network if Elliott is extended, but also recognizes added costs for maintenance and some geometric concerns if made open to the public. Slide number 5, problem and opportunity statement. Termination of the Elliott Road lease agreement triggers the need for a decision over long-term use of Elliott Road. There are alternative routes to access the site, but through the original EA for the long-term waste management facility, they were not chosen as the preferred option, i.e. access via Lakeshore Road. Clarington, with the aid of this process, needs to decide the long-term use of Elliott Road and how continued access to the facility will be dealt with in the context of the overall community and local transportation network. Slide number 6. This shows the study process. The municipal class environmental assessment has defined a process and levels of public consultation depending on the type of project. This project falls into a Schedule B with a process as outlined below. The slide shows phases 1 and phase 2. We are nearing the end of phase 2 with the second public information center, which is held tonight, and the notice of study completion is expected to be in the spring of 2022. Slide number 7. This is a slide showing the study area with an outline of the boundaries with Concession Road 1 at the north, Lakeshore Road at the south, Newtonville Road along the west, and East Town Line Road on the east. The study area considered is provided on the map here and considers access to the area from east, west, and north. Majority of the traffic will be coming from the 401 at Newtonville Road. Slide number 8, current route and existing conditions. The current agreement provides the primary access route to the site be via Newtonville Road, Concession Road 1, and Elliott Road. In order to facilitate the use of Elliott Road from Concession Road 1 to the facility entrance, Elliott Road was reconstructed to accommodate traffic for both the construction phase and post-construction operations. Alternative solutions, or slide number 9, sorry. Alternative solutions. As you can see here, 4 options were considered. Do nothing, the current arrangement as it stands with Elliott Road. Option number 2, improve Elliott Road to Lakeshore Road and make it a through road between Concession Road 1 and Lakeshore Road. Option number 3, reinstate Elliott Road to the former farm access road and with the main access to the facility from Lakeshore Road. And option number 4, improve Nichols Road and revise site access, the site access route with the main access to the facility from Lakeshore Road. Option number 4 would also include the reinstatement of the 2 railway bridges over the CP and CN rail lines. Slide number 10. This slide depicts the alternative routes to the facility that were considered in the evaluation. The various access routes considered are shown here. A key indicator in this evaluation and consideration were the number of homes that are impacted with Lakeshore Road, with Lakeshore Road having the largest impact, which is why the previous EA for the facility identified avoiding the built-up area of Port Granby as a key point. Slide number 11. This shows the response provided by 2 of Clarington's departments, both EMS and the Public Works Department. Summary of the key points provided by Clarington's EMS service were that the facility continued to have 2 access points with the main emergency response from Lakeshore Road to avoid any delays that might be encountered crossing the level crossing at the CNR on Elliott Road. Public Works input was that the connection of Elliott Road from Concession 1 to Lakeshore Road would improve transportation network and provide north-south options, but there would be added maintenance costs, and there are concerns with the CP underpass on Elliott Road not meeting current road design standards and is currently and the reconstruction of that underpass is not included as part of the Elliott Road extension option. Slide number 12, alternative solutions evaluation. This slide and the following slide depict the various criteria that were used in the evaluation of the 4 options. It includes such things as traffic operations, stormwater management, climate change, those sorts of things, as well as land use, property access, and construction staging and cost. Slide 14. This is a summary table of the evaluation of the 4 options. This table summarizes the evaluation criteria noted on the previous 2 slides. Some options rated higher than others in different areas, such as option 2 had a higher rating for transportation, but lower in the impacts to the natural environment criteria. The result of the evaluation was determined that the do nothing, option number 1, maintaining the current Elliott Road arrangement, was the preferred option to move forward with. Slide 15, preferred alternative solution. This is just a summary of the do nothing option and how it can be achieved. While the option is labeled as do nothing, there are recommended safety improvements associated with it, namely improving the sight lines at concession 1. This can be achieved by either altering the road geometry or modifying hydro pole layout to allow for a portion of the guide rail length to be reduced, improving visibility at the intersection. Also, improved long-term operational improvements on Nichols Road with a turnaround or cul-de-sac at south of the railway to allow for larger maintenance vehicles, snow removal, and garbage trucks to have a proper turnaround. It is estimated these costs will range from $350,000 to $500,000. Slide 16, preferred alternative solution. This slide provides a couple of photographs showing the visibility issues that are present at Elliott Road and Concession Road 1. Namely, the sight lines looking westerly to oncoming eastbound traffic is obstructed by the presence of the guide rail on the south side of the road. Slide 17, preferred alternative solution. This slide provides an engineering drawing showing the improvements that would be geometric improvements to the profile of the road, flattening the curve to allow for better visibility. Slide 18, preferred alternative solution. This slide depicts the modifications that would involve the relocation of hydro poles in the area to remove the poles from the close proximity of the edge of the road and allow for a section of guide rail to be removed. With the guide rail removed, the sight lines for the intersection are greatly improved and would meet current road design standards. Slide 19, preferred alternative solution, cul-de-sac at Nichols Road. This slide provides a map showing the location of where the cul-de-sac would be proposed to improve the current situation on Nichols Road north of the railway corridor. Slide number 18. Oops, sorry. Slide number 20. Preferred alternative solution. This slide shows a close-up view with a preliminary conceptual design for a cul-de-sac at Nichols Road, north of the hydro corridor. And this is, again, preliminary in nature and could be revised to be an offset cul-de-sac to minimize impacts to property on either side of the road. Slide 21, preferred alternative solution. This slide provides a graphic showing the other concern that would need to be addressed, namely property access off of Elliott Road. So currently there are, while the two northern properties currently have access to Concession Road 1, access to the balance of the properties is limited due to the presence of a drainage course through the area. So continued access off of Elliott Road would be required so that farming operations that occur now can continue to occur. A similar situation for property access is noted at the south end of Elliott Road, just north of Lakeshore Road. Slide 22, next steps. And this provides a summary. This slide provides a summary of the next steps in this process. Assessment based on the comments received from the public and other stakeholders from PIC number 2 information. They'll finalize the preferred design concept, and then we would look at finalizing the finalize and file the project report to the ministry. Circulate a notice of completion to notify that the process is completed. And again, it would be submitted to the ministry for consideration and completion of the EA process. There is the opportunity to provide input via the website or to either of the email addresses provided on this page to the manager at Clarington, Kevin Heathcote, or myself. And if we could ask that this input be provided by March 17th, that would be appreciated so we can move forward with the finalizing this EA. Thank you for your time, and that is the end of the presentation.
Great, thank you, Ron. I know that, and thank you very much for listing the numbers of the slides. It allows people on the phone to go back to particular slides if they want any clarification, and also others on the call. At this point, I would invite you to raise your hand. For those of you on the phone, please just speak up and or put a question in chat to provide any comments and ask any questions. While you're formulating your questions, I just want to remind you of the questions we have of you. Given your knowledge, what concerns or issues might arise given the preferred option? Again, the preferred option is basically a do nothing option. How does that align with your vision for the road network in Port Granby? Or are there other transportation improvements that weren't presented that you would like to see considered? And if you think that the preferred option, which is the do nothing, is okay, we would certainly want to hear about that too. Okay, so I see Jerry and Bonnie have provided a comment in chat, and I'll see if I can read that. Jerry and Bonnie have said that they're happy with the presentation, and Jerry will just touch base with Ron over the next couple of days. Thank you, Jerry, for that. Also, Lauren has put the web page address in the chat. So If you want to have more detail or have more time to think about your comments, please cut and paste that as well. Let's see. Garfield, thank you for joining us. I see Mayor Foster's hand up. Please go ahead, Mayor Foster.
Hi, Dave. Just really quickly, firstly, for the residents, thank you. And I think Councillors Wharton and Cooper and I know we're curious to hear their concerns. But what is the easiest and best way for residents to reach out? If these folks are like me, you have the meeting, and right after the end of the meeting, that's when you come up with a question. So what's the most effective way to reach out, and who should they reach out directly to?
I can feel that, Dave. If they'd like to phone by telephone, it's probably best to call myself. Just as I'm intimately involved with the project. Alternatively, they can contact Kevin Heathcote by phone. But best probably is the best route, and in order to keep track of all the input we received, is send in an email with your questions. And if you'd like, through that email, you'd like somebody to speak to you regarding your questions, we'd be glad to follow up.
Thank you, Mayor Foster. Is there a follow-up question? Good. We have in chat a comment from Brian and Penny Strip. Thank you. If speed is going to be a problem on Elliott Road, is a speed bump or some other measure a possibility?
On Elliott Road itself, as a typically with the rural nature of the road, we would not recommend a speed bump in this situation, just because it would, while you can provide signage, it would be an unexpected obstruction in the road compared to being in a built-up area with a school zone or that sort of thing. So while it is possible, it wouldn't be recommended from a safety perspective.
Great, thank you. I know, Mr. Payne, you've joined us, and I know in the Public Information Center, number one, you had comments to share with us. I'm not sure if you have comments today, but you're welcome to share your views as well. We very much welcome them.
Yes.
Please go ahead. Okay.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, I'm sorry I joined late. I was tied up with something else, but I'd be interested in sitting through and listening to all that's happened since our first meeting. Thank you. I'm not in favor of speed bumps either. They're sort of hard when you're riding a combine or a John Deere down that road, or a pickup.
Okay, thank you.
And just for your benefit, Mr. Payne, I'll give you Cole's notes of the presentation, or at least where we arrived at with regards to a preferred solution and a path moving forward. We looked at the number of alternative routes that were presented in PIC were evaluated, and based on a number of different criteria, from that evaluation, the preferred alternative was the do nothing alternative, which is essentially keeping the current arrangement with access to the facility via Elliott Road, in addition to, with that, there would be additional improvements required to allow this to continue in the long term, which would involve sightline improvements at Elliott Road and Concession Road 1, and the provision of a turnaround or cul-de-sac on on Nichols Road, just south of the railway corridor.
Thank you.
And the other the other part you'll be interested in, one of the items that will need to be addressed moving forward, and is continued property access for those lands that are inaccessible other than using Elliott Road.
Like our little pasture, you mean, between the railroads?
Exactly like that. That
Yes.
little pasture and the lands to the north of that as well.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Payne, I know you had a number of comments in PIC 1 about access to property. So Ron presented a slide showing access to your property plus the pasture and so on.
Will those be available for me to download somewhere, or how would I get access to them? The PowerPoint, if that's what you were showing.
Yes, it will be available on the project website, which is webpage on Clarington's website. Additionally, provided the I'll check the file size. That would be the best place to locate it. It'll be posted there in the next day or so. Otherwise, I can make arrangements to send it to you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Faye Langmaid, I know you had your hand up.
No, I was just getting Ron to clarify exactly where that turnaround was on Nichols Road. And he's done that.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay, so again, we're down to the do nothing as the preferred option. It's may not be a controversial alternative, but I want you again to think about, does this ultimately meet your vision for what you expected for the road network, given that they're coming to the end of the operations phase for the long-term waste management facility.
Will Elliott Road still be accessible from the south? In other words, now that the bridges are gone, or there's no intent to allow access from the north over the old CPCN bridges, is the dirt track, so to speak, that was formerly the south end of Nichols Road going to be maintained, or just closed off, or left to go to wild conditions?
At due to some other instances of garbage and burned cars being deposited in that area, it has been gated. It will probably remain gated. If there's a need to provide minor maintenance, as would normally be done for farm access, that will be considered by the municipality as part of the ongoing kind of status quo for that area. But other than that, it will not be. It's not planned to be improved beyond what is there now.
So it would be just farm tractor access if someone is cropping that field south of the CN tracks and east of the south leg of Nichols Road.
Yes, and if it's that portion, I'll just share my screen again here.
And I guess the other part of that question really relates to the end use of the property and the nature reserve. So, we're trying to keep all of the lands that might become part of the nature reserve, keep some control over access. So there aren't penetrations into the nature reserve in its final form, but how that will be managed over time is still under negotiation with a number of stakeholders through that process. So that's another consideration for both the south end of Elliott Road and Nichols Road south of the railway tracks.
Thank you, Will. For those on the phone, Ron has put up kind of a Google Earth aerial view of the site and the local road network. Kevin, and you've put the link to the planning studies and the presentation. So thank you very much for that. So if you're online, you can just cut and paste that link, and that will get you into the documents you'd be looking for. Other comments or questions or observations?
Will there continue to still be stream monitoring of that creek that runs through our pasture between the two railroads? You see the sort of triangular parcel. Is that going to be continued, once the site is closed?
I'm not aware of, just one. Apologize for my screen here. I'm not, Will, you may be able to provide some insight. I'm not entirely sure how long the monitoring program for the stream needs to be in place for the site. There is ongoing monitoring that will occur beyond this stage, but do you know how long that duration might be, Will?
Yeah, those requirements are really part of the EA and would be the responsibility of CNL. So CNL staff will would be able to answer those questions for us. But there is a long-term monitoring component to phase 3 of the project, and as Ron says, CNL can clarify what those timelines might be.
Can I ask the CNL staff on the line to make sure you follow up with our questioner to make sure that they are given the response to that question, please,
Yeah.
after this PIC?
Yes, I will. No problem,
Okay.
Dave.
Good,
Yes,
thank you. Okay, we have another comment from Brian and Penny Strip. Where exactly will the south end of Elliott Road come out to Lakeshore Road? Will it be where the gate is presently on the north side of the road?
So through the original alternatives that were considered, did consider both options of it coming out at its current location, or the alternative would have been coming down Elliott Road, veering east and tying into the existing driveway, with the property boundaries being adjusted accordingly to ensure that the facility was still could be fenced and not accessible to the public. Through this evaluation, that option has been ruled as not being preferred, and we're considering the current arrangement as the preferred option that we would move forward with.
So Ron, just to pinpoint on their question, so it says, where exactly will the south end of Elliott Road come out to Lakeshore Road? So you've explained what the thinking behind it, and will come out basically where it's coming out now. Is that what's
sorry. Yes, under the do nothing situation, it will remain exactly where it is now, and no alteration will be done to it. It will remain gated to deal with the illegal dumping, but it is accessible if there is a property that a small property on the south end that gains access from Elliott, that would still be permitted.
Okay, and I know we heard about that on the first Public Information Center, about the need to provide that access. For those of you on telephone, Ron had put the alternative route selection slide up. So Garfield, I know you have your hand up. I'd be happy to hear from you.
Yes. Will the underpass under the CP tracks, which goes down Elliott Road to the facility, be widened, or are there any plans to change it or modernize it? I think it is probably 100 years old.
As part, short answer is no. That was one of the things identified as part of the evaluation. Upgrading that was not part of the considerations, so it would remain as it is. Would be replaced as CP sees fit as part of their ongoing maintenance for the rail corridor, but no improvements would be made as part of this undertaking.
I was asking because it's very confined. If there ever had to be emergency vehicle access down there, let's say there was a grass fire or something else going on at the facility.
Yep, the underpass is accessible by Clarington's fire services equipment as well. It serviced all of the large vehicles, the large gravel haulers and those sorts of things. It serviced all of those vehicles during the construction stage. It was just a few large equipment deliveries that couldn't access it, but for the most part, it will accommodate standard large vehicles that are on the road right now. Save and except maybe a combine.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much workable. Well, there actually is a field further south on the south side of the CN tracks that you would need a combine for.
Okay, thank you. Garfield, was any other follow-up for that that question?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'm going to slowly move to kind of completing the public information center, but I do want to allow more ample time for any comments or questions or any thinking about what you've heard tonight. Garfield, I'll see your hand up again.
Yes, it just jogged my memory. There was Clarington proposed work on the replacement and enlargement of the culverts through the stream that becomes Elliott Creek.
Yep.
As it passes east of Elliott Road in that little gully. I never heard any more about when that to be happening. I did have some discussions with Clarington staff about it, but are you aware of when that work is going to be done?
Yep, that will be done this summer. After July 1st, there's some fish window items that need, or fish window restrictions that don't allow that work to happen until between July 1st and September 15th. So it was delayed last year. It was a bit late, so it was deferred till the summer of 2022. So it will happen this summer, as well as there's a culvert. This is not related to the EA, but there's a culvert just at Lancaster Road crossing concession that will also be done. Those will be coordinated such that they're not going at the same time, and access will be available either from the east or the west to get to the facility.
Thank you.
Okay, so while you're thinking of any final thoughts or questions or comments, I'm not sure if any staff or consultants have anything that you wish to add or anything you wish to ask our members of the public beyond what we've been asking throughout the course of the evening. Garfield, I see your hand up again.
Oh, no, sorry. Not, no,
Okay.
it wasn't me.
Okay. Well, listen, we're almost finished. So with that, folks, there's lots of opportunity to provide additional comments and questions and get information. It can be hand delivered to you. It's on the web page and so on. So there's a couple of weeks of open window for getting any comments, questions, or your preferences to our team here. So with that, I'm going to start to wrap up. So I saw a couple actions. I know CNL, you were going to reach out to the one of our participants, so thank you very much. We will be recording and taking notes, so look for that. Ron, you've provided the next steps for the municipal class EA as your final slide. And I want to thank you, Ron, for just an excellent presentation. You, you know, with people on the phone, it's kind of almost a described video, described PowerPoint. And I think you did a really excellent job there. So thank you very much for that. Really top-notch work. Kevin, is there anything else we need to say to each other before we kind of wrap up? And
if no one,
yes, I'm going to turn it over to you, Kevin, to wrap up then, please.
Sorry, can everyone hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, well, if there are no other questions, on behalf of the municipality, I'd like to thank Dave and Ron, Will, Alicia, and Lauren for the presentation and all the extremely valuable information. I'd like to thank Mayor Foster, Councillors Ward and Councillor Hooper for joining us this evening. And of course, thank you to everyone else, the public, for participating in the open house and providing as well extremely valuable feedback towards the final decisions and wrapping up this EA for the end use road network down at Port Granby. Just like to remind everyone that if anything else does come to mind, we welcome more questions, comments, and feedback via email. You can send that directly through the project website that Lauren shared earlier in the chat, but it's also available just by searching Port Granby on the Municipality of Clarington website. We are looking and hoping for comments by March 17th, so we can review and finalize and post those, and of course use them to help making the final decisions as part of this municipal class EA. So yeah, that's about it for me. Thank you again, everyone, for joining, and hope everyone has a great night.
Be safe, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, all. Be safe.
Thank you, everyone.